In Greek mythology, there's a Greek goddess who went by the name of Aphrodite. Aphrodite was someone who was praised for her beauty, a beauty that no one could touch. At least, that's what she thought. One day she hears about a mortal woman named Psyche, someone who was also praised for her beauty. People from far and wide would travel just to see her. When Aphrodite hears of this, she becomes furious and even jealous. Well, Aphrodite had a son named Cupid, and out of her jealousy, she orders her son to make Psyche fall in love with the most hideous man on earth. But when Cupid gets to her, his knees buckle. Under the moonlight, he too falls for her beauty. He then orders one of his henchmen to take Psyche to his palace. While living in the palace, she would fall in love and marry Cupid. But there was one catch. She had never seen his face. Cupid would only visit her at night, and under the cover of darkness, his identity was unknown. Psyche eventually grew curious and wanted to know who she married, at least see his face. So one night when Cupid slept, she grabbed a candle and she lit it in order to try to gaze upon him while he was sleeping. But when she did this, it backfired. Burned by the wax, Cupid would awaken. Once alert, he becomes furious. He flees into the night, vowing never to return. A hurt Psyche would turn to his mother, Aphrodite. She would beg and plead for mercy and beg to be with her son. Aphrodite then agrees, but only if she can complete a few tasks. In the end, Psyche was able to complete all tasks, except one. She had ordered Psyche to go to the underworld and retrieve Persephone's beauty cream. Persephone was the goddess of the underworld. She was also known as the Queen of Death. So she travels to the underworld, and when she gets there, Persephone agrees to give her this beauty cream. But Persephone didn't like Aphrodite. Instead of giving Psyche the beauty cream, she fills the box with Stygian sleep, and she tells Psyche never to open it. But on the way back, once again, Psyche becomes curious and she opens the box. And when she does, she falls into a deep sleep. When Cupid hears what happens, he takes Psyche to Zeus. He then begs Zeus to heal her, and in the end, Zeus does. And then Cupid and Psyche live happily ever after. By now, you may be asking yourself, what does this have to do with true crime? Well, stick around to the end, and you'll see where I'm going with this. December 20th, 1999. The world would make way for Marshae Nash. She would be born to her mother Brandy and her father, Greg Nash. The place she called home would be Detroit, Michigan. In her early years, she's described as someone who was polite. She was also thoughtful. She was your average child who enjoyed singing and dancing and hanging out with family and friends. As we all know, life is a mystery. You never know what the future holds. And as fate would have it, the same year she was born, someone else was born months prior. Someone who in her future would become a big part of her life. In June of 1999, Benson Harris would enter this world. Benson is described as a good kid, someone who was respectful to his elders. Benson is also from the Detroit, Michigan area. While in school, he was attentive. He also was a part of the JROTC program, a military program that teaches self-discipline, as well as things to guide you along your path of life. Growing up for Benson was no cakewalk. His father was murdered when he was younger, and he was raised by a single mother. For a single mother, things can get hard at times, but she did the best she could to raise him, and things turned out okay. It isn't clear exactly when they met, but in 2019, he would make a relationship official with Marshae Nash. At the time, they were both 20 years old. Marshae is now described as someone who was funny. She was also outgoing and also giving, someone who wore her feelings on her sleeve. She was also someone who hid her pain extremely well, although she was someone who was always smiling and upbeat. She would often take to social media to say she was depressed and just wasn't where she wanted to be in life. But although she was down, she had hopes that her future would be better. For her, that future became Benson Harry, They met and love quickly blossomed. She would also refer to him as her best friend. At the time, Benson was an aspiring rapper. He's also described as someone who was loyal and forthcoming. One thing the couple shared was unhappiness. Benson was also not where he wanted to be in life. He was in the streets and still mourning the murder of his father. Lucky for Benson, Marshae was someone who only saw the good in people. She was someone who had the ability to look past the negative things and see you for who you were. And to her, he was someone who brought happiness. Not long after making it official, they would come to find that they were about to welcome a child into this world. Upon giving birth, things would change. For Marshae, it was her first child and she was elated to be a mother. Benson had a child from his previous relationship, but it was also different for him because this time he was having a child with someone who motivated him, someone who had his back no matter what, someone who pushed him to be a better version of himself. As he looked down at their son that they chose to name Braylon, he knew that things needed to change. He needed to make his exit out of the streets and make a better life for his family. For the couple, the child would only strengthen their relationship. They were no perfect couple. They would often break up and get back together. But even when they broke up, the people around them knew that their love was so strong that a minor disagreement wouldn't be enough to break them up. By the year of 2021, they would both be 22 years old. They had been together for a few years now and had their future planned out. But sadly for the couple, those future plans would be placed on hold. A tragedy would occur. It would occur in a city that is no stranger to violence. For the officers of Detroit, Michigan, it's just another case, another homicide. But for the families, they were missing a loved one, and life as they knew it would never be the same. October 18th, 2021. The Detroit, Michigan PD would be dispatched to a Marathon gas station at around 8:30 p.m. The officers are responding to a call about a shooting. When they arrive to the location, they would notice a vehicle sitting still. The officers arrived so quick to the scene that they could still smell the gunpowder in the air. The authorities make their way over to this Ford vehicle, and inside of the vehicle, they discover the bodies of two victims, one male and one female. But to their surprising alarm, someone else was at the scene, a 9-month-old baby. The victims would be identified as 22-year-old Marshae Nash and 22-year-old Benson Harris Lindsay. To add insult to injury, they would come to find that they were not only the parents of a son, but they had just had a daughter who was born premature and still in the hospital. They are now actively working a double homicide investigation, and with no real suspects, they would reach out to the media in hopes of generating leads.
Thank you. 2 people are shot and killed at a gas station on Detroit's west side right in front of a baby.
Yeah, incredibly, the child was not hurt. Fox 2's Robin Murdoch live for us outside DPD headquarters as police investigate and work to track down those suspects. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning, Ryan, Amy. It's amazing that this little child, this baby that was in the back seat of this car, was not injured in all of this when you look at the surveillance video. Now, police did release a short clip of surveillance video that shows the 2 suspects involved in the shooting. They also released a couple of still photos taken from that surveillance video and hope someone out there might recognize the pair of suspects. We are live outside Detroit Police Headquarters. Robin Murdoch, Fox 2 News.
Days after the incident, authorities would arrest a few suspects that they were led to due to tips from the public. Though the authorities have suspects, they never release their names. These suspects are alleged to have arrived at that gas station. They know that this was no random act. This was something planned. These suspects came there and they were intentionally aiming for Benson. Through a tip, the officers would discover that the assailants thought Benson would be alone, but although they noticed he wasn't alone, and there was even a child present, they still decided to go through with the act. An autopsy would conclude that Benson would be hit multiple times, while Marshae suffered one wound. They know that at the time that Marshae Nash was hit, she was holding her 9-month-old child, but even after being hit, The only thing on her mind was the safety of her child. She managed to take her last strength and place her baby in the back seat. Thankfully, on that day, their son went untouched. Although the authorities have suspects, they haven't been formally charged. They once again reached out to the media for any tips, but none were provided. In the months leading up to the incident, Benson was making some cryptic posts. He was saying that he wanted to see his other children before it was too late. He was also making posts that suggest he may have been into it with some people. This is no more than speculation, but one thing is true, and that's that the wages of war will always be death. In this situation, it claimed two people, and one of them was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. For Marshae Nash, her only sin on that day was being in love, and in the end, it cost her everything. In the beginning, I shared the story of Cupid and Psyche, a woman who fell in love with a man whom she had never seen. Psyche is similar to a lot of women in this day and age. She learned to look past the darkness and greet the person within. When Psyche decided to light the night to see her lover, she exposed the truth. She knew right then and there that she was dating a god, and this relationship was no good for them. But by then, the thought of danger wasn't enough. It was too late. She had already fallen. In that moment, her love was stronger than fear, and in the midst of pursuing this relationship, she would be harmed and fall into a deep sleep.
He was all I had, the only child God gave me.
A grieving mother, barely able to speak about her only child, 22-year-old Benson Harris Lindsay, who was shot and killed, along with 22-year-old Marshae Nash in a Marathon gas station, 8:30 Monday night on Detroit's west side.
I'm not saying he was good or perfect. All I'm saying is it wasn't worth his life, whatever he did.
And what's worse is that Marshae was holding the couple's 9-month-old son, Braylon, in her arms when she was shot.
It's just horrific. I mean, it's just no words for it. I can't even imagine what the families are going through. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families that, you got two families that have to bury two 22-year-olds.
And what police are calling a miracle, the child was unharmed.
Now you've got a 9-month-old who is out here who has to be raised by the parents and at some point told the story of what happened.
We don't know. We don't know what he was into. Not for real. We know he was working and he was trying to take care of those kids. But I don't know who did it or why they would do it.
As of now, this case is still an ongoing investigation. What happened to 22-year-old Marshae Nash and 22-year-old Benson Harris Lindsay is completely tragic. In all, Benson Harris was the father of 4 children, while Marshae was the mother of 2. Their children will now grow up without a mother or a father. Rest in peace, Marshae and Benson. Thank you for being a light for others. I truly hope you receive the justice that you deserve.
Someone always knows. Somebody's always knows, and it is incumbent upon us who are sick and tired of the slime, the crime, the grime, the evil, the murder, the muck, the mire, the misery, and the mayhem permeating to say something.
Did you watch the video?
Yeah, I did watch the video.
Put yourself in the shoes of Greg Johns Nash, watching video of this deadly ambush that killed his daughter Marshae and her boyfriend Monday night.
This happened to many families, and now it just happened to me.
So you think about Braylon and how he wasn't hit?
Well, it's a miracle, and we're gonna take care of him like nothing before. To go through these neighborhoods and have the green lights and the cameras and the, everything, and people still don't even care. They don't even care no more. It's like, it's
8 cameras were right there.
Right. I pray that somebody or even if it's me, to get the strength to save our city. You know what I mean? It just to stop the crime. The adults, the grown folks, man, we kind of need to step it up, We need to step it up because I know my child ain't the only child. A lot of us going through this every day. every day.